Happy Monday, Coach Robbie.
A big happy birthday to the women in our lives that gave birth to both you and I. And to Raleigh, happy birthday. Lisa Bruce, happy birthday.
Happy birthday, mothers, moms. It's a big day for that.
It's a big day for that. It is, both our moms have birthdays today. We will, respect their anonymity and not sharing their age, but hey, all you need to know is that it's their birthday, and if you know them, wish them a happy birthday, and you can, long term, you can thank both of them for the creation of this podcast, because without them, this podcast would not exist.
That's quite incredible to think about on the same day. Are we the same age? That would be really something.
Are we the same age? You think we got a little Benjamin Button thing going on over here? No.
Well, you referred to it last time. You're like 5 years older than me.
It's true.
In attitude.
Exactly. I think we even things out in terms of biological age and then actually the way that we act. So. But it is 1 in 365 chance that they would have. That's probably less than that, actually, if you think about the fact that you and I are such good friends that we have. But yeah, happy birthday to them. And hey, if anybody else out there is listening, and today is your special day, happy birthday to you too.
Yeah, it's a happy birthday day podcast. Tennessee and Wisconsin come together through the ether.
They do. But yeah, it is a gloomier day again after we had some sunshiny days here in Nashville. But it's okay because it's staying lighter longer. I think we're about to go through a time change. We had a big racing weekend for our athletes, and we are full season in the midst of it. And if you were joining us today, we appreciate it. Make sure you subscribe and download all of our podcasts on iTunes. And then if you, even if it's, maybe we'll start giving out birthday reviews. But if you like what you hear, or if you don't like what you hear, we appreciate if you take the time to leave us a review on iTunes. They are incredibly helpful to the aspiring triathlete and the seasoned veteran alike.
And here's one. I've got one ready.
Let's let it rip.
This is an iTunes review. This is the Crushing Iron Triathlon podcast, and this review is from Colleen FS.
Ooh.
Did we read this one? I don't know.
No, but for Colleen, if you're listening, you could have easily done Colleen FFS, but that's okay.
Okay. This podcast is a must for any level triathlete. It's a weekly ritual listen and so inspiring to be able to connect to the personal journey of Mike and Robbie into triathlon. Highly recommend for any level of triathlete or anyone wanting to positively impact those around you.
Bam.
So I think that kind of sums it up pretty nicely.
Yeah, I do too. Thanks, Colleen, for taking the time. And but yeah, like we said, if you could take a minute, throw a couple stars on there, throw 5 stars on there, whatever you feel is appropriate for the quality and the content that we give you. So we appreciate that. Again, we appreciate everyone who takes the time to listen to our podcasts and give us feedback via text, email, Facebook message, Facebook post, or iTunes. And if you want to keep up to date with everything else that we're doing outside of the podcast, you can join us on Facebook. We have our regular Crushing Iron Facebook page where we post things once every 5 months. And then if you want to join the discussion with other individuals and athletes who listen to our podcast, you can join us and search Crushing Iron Group on Facebook. And we will let you in, and you can chit-chat with the rest of us. And then for all things Crushing Iron, you can go to our website, crushingiron.com. Coaching, camps, training plans, swim analysis, gear, videos, blog posts, And I think that's about it.
Yeah.
For now,
Crushing.
we've got some things we might maybe add in here in the future, which is exciting. But for now, that is your one-stop shop.
Yeah, and the Crushing Iron group. That's what you search on Facebook. That gets you into the closed group. We'll let you in there. I'd like to welcome some new members.
Oh,
Shout out to Rachel.
Carpet.
Yeah. Shout out to Rachel Evans, Riley Fitzgerald, Charlene Sullivan Sylvester, Scott Harness, Brian George, Nikki Ogle. Welcome into the Crushing Iron group. I don't know, just a new segment there, the shout out.
I like it. Rolling out the red carpet, bells and whistles, pom-poms, cartwheels.
We'll get to everyone eventually.
Yeah. We're not going to work our way backwards because there's like 700 of you. But going forward, maybe we'll do, when we get our 1,000th member, maybe we'll just do one podcast where we do one of those, one of those listing podcasts where we just list all the members in our closed Crushing Iron group.
Oh, a bonus cast.
Yeah, bonus cast.
When we get to 1,000 members?
Yeah, something like that. We're like 770, I think, right now. But yeah, we still got a little bit of ways to go. But
770, well over 200,000 downloads on the podcast. Some steam brewing.
Steam, yeah, and we are, as usual, not stopping there. So Mike and I have some pretty exciting things we're working on here that hopefully we can announce in the coming weeks to further benefit our listeners, our athletes, and anyone else who is interested in, I think, what we're going to be doing. So all in all, it's good stuff. Congrats to anyone who raced this last weekend. There was a lot of events going on in terms of sprint tries, indoor triathlons. We had an athlete over in Ironman New Zealand.
Oh, yeah.
We had people at the New Orleans half and full marathon. So we're here, and it's exciting, and it's exciting time of the year, I think, for everybody as we start to kind of come out of our triathlon hibernation, like we discussed in the last podcast, and dabbling, and yo-yoing between outdoors and indoors. But before we know it, it's going to be warm and sunshine until like 8 o'clock at night. All the opportunity that you have is going to, all the opportunity in the day is going to be there. Your ability to give excuses to the darkness and the cold are going to slowly wither away and die. And it is time to get going.
Yeah, it is time to get going. What do you got on your mind today? Anything in particular?
Well, I think I kind of wanted to go a little bit towards since and we don't have to always stick on this, and we probably won't. But I was thinking about this morning about just how random and coincidental it is. It's both of our moms' birthdays today, but how important those around us are to our journeys.
Okay.
And in triathlon, and how we either do or don't necessarily appreciate them as much as we probably should. In terms of, because triathletes, we always look at in bettering, how can we improve our times? How can we improve our ability to race and to perform? Can I get more training in? What kind of gear do I need to buy? Do I need to spin? And a lot of times I think athletes will lose sight on one of the more underrated aspects in training, which is kind of the general household, what I'll call, I guess, the household homeostasis, in which, especially for those athletes that are married, and then especially married with kids, or needy dogs and animals, I think they both qualify as children, to their overall happiness, in how that translates to performance for the athlete. Because I think it's very, very underrated in terms of, I think, years and years ago, someone, I can think, like, coined the phrase like the Iron Man divorce, in terms of, But while I don't necessarily think Ironman is ever the actual action of completing the Ironman is the common denominator that fuels these separations or divorces. I think obviously people probably sign up for them to get away from, they're more running from something than running to something. But in general, I think keeping your close friends, your loved ones, your spouses, your children happy and invested and part of what you're doing along the way is a very underrated aspect of sustainability and performance in all sports. And I think that was something I think we could touch on, things to do or things you could look at in terms of how to approach the season. Because let's be honest, if you're treading on thin water or thin ice right now with your spouse in March, or your loved ones or your kids, and you're doing something longer this year, it's only going to get worse. And I think there's all these kind of things you can do to help mitigate that stress and involve your family and involve your kids to make sure that this is a welcome and fun and exciting, memorable journey for everyone.
Yeah, I agree. And then also, if I may, we may get into something later.
Oh, well, why don't you share that and we can just see which one might be the best fit.
Well, I've talked about it before, but the Roger Bannister 4-minute mile, and it's this concept around what our limits are, and like how far can we go, and the reason I'm bringing this up is because I got two reminders this morning, both specifically about Roger Bannister, so I thought it was kind of a sign. And one was an email, and one was this thing I was listening to. And it talks about,
he passed away this weekend.
Oh, that's probably why.
Yeah, that's hello.
Neither one of them mentioned that he died.
Oh, yeah. Newsflash, spoiler alert. Yeah,
but they were like, yeah, okay, so, that's such a bummer. But I just want to talk about like limits and how we can hit our limits and how we put limits on ourselves and things like that too. So maybe we can get to that later. But let's start off with what you're talking about, man. How do you do that? How do you keep everybody in your life happy?
Well, I don't think it is I don't think there is one answer for everyone, but I think that scheduling with and kind of if you can schedule with obviously your spouse or your loved one or your partner, whoever it is, first off, having them on board for what you're doing is important. Involving them in the process is important. Helping them picking your race is important. Like one of the things I did this year with some of my races, and one in particular was I was thinking about going back to Muncie, and before I did that, I asked Allie, hey, what are your thoughts on this? July is a busy month for us already, and her birthday is towards the end of July, and so that would kind of coincide. But then we've been there a lot, and she was like, well, what about Ohio? She spent time in Columbus at Ohio State and has friends there, and while I've heard it's a good course, it's always more fun to kind of go back sometimes to the course you've always done. I've done Muncie 4 or 5 times, but she's like, let's go somewhere different, and let's go where I have friends there. We can stay with them and see friends of hers, and so we picked that one. So that was kind of a happy medium in deciding on what to do and why to choose that one. And then there's also just, I think, an understanding of communication and how you want things to work. And I don't want to say that listen, if you're a husband, you need to ask for permission no matter what. But I've gotten to the point to where in my scheduling, I will do everything in my power to fit every workout I can possibly fit in through the kind of the chaos of Monday through Friday, so that I can be able to enjoy the entire weekend, mostly with Allie and Hayden without taking any time away from them. For example, like Saturday, I did the Mike Terali triple brick. Oh. I did the swim, pushmo, run. brick. And I went and swam that morning, which is the time I spent away from them, and then did some landscaping. And then my legs were super tired. I did not really want to do much after a long, hard ride on Friday. But it was either run by myself, run on our treadmill, or take Hayden with me on the stroller and run around our hilly ass neighborhood pushing his pudgy butt for 40 minutes. And as much as I didn't want to do that from like the neck down, I knew that just taking him out and doing that with him, even though, you know, it may not seem like he gets a kick out of it, he kind of does. He loves to look around and see things. And we saw some stuff by the water. And but it's like little choices like that I think help. And it also gave Allie some time to do some things around the house. Because, like, you know, for the athletes, like when you leave the house in the morning and if you have kids especially, you kind of leave your spouse or your partner with like this list of things to do on the weekend that they feel like they have to get done, and then they also have to watch your kids or the pets or do something else, you know, to get it all in while you're asking for basically, you know, you're taking a person away that can help in assistance with them around the house, and you're going doing something else, and now you leave the work that could be done by 2 to 1. While you got to go and do your own thing. Mm-hmm. And so, like, by choosing to take Hayden, I enjoyed it, and I love doing that with him because I can talk to him on the way and point out things. And then it also gives Allie the reverse. It gives her time alone to herself to do things, you know, whether it's whatever the hell she wants to do, whether it's do some more things around the house or, frankly, just prop her legs up on the couch and relax for 45 minutes. You know, like without having to worry about Hayden or me or doing anything else, and just have like some time to herself. Because, you know, as athletes, that's our time to ourselves is our training. And so offering time and making time for our loved ones and our supporters, I guess is what I should say, is, you know, to do the same for them. You know, it's kind of how you can reciprocate that. I think that that in the happiness that you need to kind of have week in and week out, to where it's like, oh, well, how long is your ride again? You know, or how long is your run again? Or, you know, and like, and you kind of feel bad, and you're like, okay, well, I'll be back. And then you just kind of leave them to kind of basically do everything else. And that's, so I just think there's, you know, scheduling, you know, ways to be creative and ways to be creative and ways to include family is such a long-term sustainable way to continue in the sport and then make them not resent it. But even like little things, like instead of wasting money on getting a massage for you, get one for your spouse. That's honestly a much better value in return on your investment than getting one for yourself in terms of like allocating money to your own performance. Because I mean, you know, there's okay research out there when it comes to massages in terms of performance, but obviously it can help, you know, fend off, you know, injuries and stuff like that, depending on the kind of massage. But like just doing things that they may not expect, involving them, giving them their own time, because it can be a very selfish sport. And if you're in February and March and your support crew is already kind of being like, oh, okay, when is your race again? When is all this over? You know, instead of involving them in as much as you can, and also finding ways to, you know, not just keep the peace, but do your own. I think it's just about being a responsible athlete, you know. And I'm not going to sit here and say I've always been the best at it, but I think that finding ways to do things like that and make, you know, as much time as you take for yourself, try to make as much time for them in reverse to make sure it's at least equal, if not more.
Man, you are laying down some serious doggy dad guilt on me right now.
You're pretty good with Maddie. We'll walk in and
No, I am. It's just like an endless supply of energy. It's like every time I walk around the corner, she's just staring at me like, what are we doing next? But you're right. I mean, that's a huge part of it actually for me. I mean, I deal with the you know, guilt. I mean, it's like, how do you draw that line between, you know, doing something for yourself and reaching out for other people, and you're right. It always feels better to reach out. It's like, but sometimes you got to draw the line and put in your work and things like that. So, I just, it's got to be a balance, like in everything else. I mean, I think if you look at balance in life and training in general, I mean, I just emailed a buddy this morning about how, training balance can get out of whack. It's sort of like you put stuff off, and then you go over the top to try and make up for it. And it just can't be done that way.
Yeah.
So I think that it's just sort of like a methodical way of living every day of giving out, a piece of yourself to someone else in general. And, I guess, I don't have a wife or a kid, so, it is my mother's birthday. And, I mean, she actually is such a great supporter, and she's, usually more excited about everything I'm doing than I am. So it's always great to keep her in the loop. And, I don't know. I think you're onto something with that. There's something to be said for just feeling free. We've talked about it before, but like, when you do something like that, you give somebody something else that, frees up your mind and your body to actually have a better workout or to train better in general, because your conscience is clear.
Yeah, I mean, guilt in general is like one of those things that, like I always, when someone says, "Oh, quit trying to make me feel guilty," it's like, well, if you don't have anything to feel guilty about, then you can't. Look at Maddie. She's like, I hear you talking about me. Hello, walk me out of the podcast. Don't be a hypocrite. That's what she's saying right now.
Yeah, right. She sees somebody out there walking.
Yeah, exactly. But no, I mean, I think that.
Take me with you.
Yeah, but like it's not like, Maddie's not making you feel guilty, or like Hayden, like he's not making me feel guilty. It's like if I'm in line with the values and what I'm trying to do in terms of incorporating them, then I won't feel guilty because I know I've done a good job. But if I'm feeling guilty about not including or taking too much time away, then maybe I'm not doing something right, or maybe I can do something better. And yeah, I mean, there's come to a point to where you can do so much, and you have to spend time away, training and going to the pool and hopping on the train or going for a ride or a run. And when it comes to that, then it's like, listen, I'm okay with leaving and doing this because I know that I do the best that I can. I know that it also makes me a better father and a better husband to do this. And then I know that, when I have the opportunities, I will take Caden with me, or when I get back, I'll push him on his bike and let him ride, and like I'll take him to the pool. So it really is. It's all about balance. But I just think it's a good time of year now that we're about to, like, more athletes than not, their training hours are about to increase. In terms of, especially once it gets lighter outside, but just make time for those that make your journey possible, that allow us to do these sports. And it's dogs, pets, whatever. They're all, listen, most of us love our pets more than we love most humans. I mean, I'll be the first one to tell you, there's a very short list that goes in front of my dog. And the rest of you are a distant fifth or ninth or 100th. It's true. If you're a pet person, you know how it is. But it is. It's make sure you got things in order. Make sure there's some, reasonable expectations are communicated between you and your support team, whoever that's made up of, in terms of missing, and do everything in your power to not miss things, and schedule things in a way that allows you to maximize your time to where there is as minimal interference as possible. And then when interference does arise, you acknowledge it, and then make sure you're appreciative, and then make sure that you try to do your best to continue minimize it along the course of the season.
Yeah, it's like keeping your why in perspective too. I think that's always a big struggle with a lot of people I talk with. It's like, what really, what are you doing? Because I mean, I feel like triathlon brings together people together for a bigger reason. It's always usually sort of the vehicle, and if it's like if you get behind and you start trying to force things up and you always get out of balance and out of whack, but it's sort of about keeping perspective on like why we're in this sport in general, which I think usually is just to be a happier, healthier person. And we've had a whole podcast on that. And I don't know, this might be a time to segue into that Bannister stuff I was talking about. The one thing I got.
Have at it, dude.
You read it?
No, I said have at it.
Do you follow Seth Godin? You get his emails? Did you get that one today?
I did not. I don't get his emails. No.
All right. He always has these real short like quips, and this is the one. It's called the Bannister Method, and it says Roger Bannister did something that many people had said was impossible. He ran a mile in 4 minutes. The thing is, he didn't accomplish this by running a mile as fast as he could. He did it by setting out to run a mile in 4 minutes. Bannister analyzed the run stride by stride. He knew how long each split needed to be. He had colleagues work in relay, pacing him on each and every section of the mile. He did something impossible, but he did it by creating a series of possible steps. It's easy to get hung up on, quote unquote, as possible, as fast, as big, as much, as cheap, as small. But the Bannister method is to obsess about enough instead. So I just found that interesting because, like I'll do this all the time where I'll go out and be like, damn, I'm behind. I got to go, whatever, and like overdo it or whatever. But he was just so focused on that. And of course, the part two of this is once people saw the 4 minute mile accomplished, then, everybody started doing it because they saw it. And that's why I'm real curious about how do we, hit our next level as far as, peak performance and things like that. And with regard to the Bannister method, it's basically, just dissecting our goals. And there was another thing. This guy had a great analogy. It was about what is the human limit? What is our limit as humans? And, he said it's not as simple as like, when you fill up a glass of water, at some point it's going to overflow. He used the analogy of like, let's try thinking about the human limits in terms of a body, an ocean, and throwing buckets of water in there. There's no end. And once you hit the last bucket, there's always room for more. So as far as human potential, it's kind of an endless thing. And it's just a matter of kind of setting the the goal that you want and meticulously going after it. So I don't know if that spurs any kind of conversation or not, but I just think,
I mean, I just think it's a tough, man. It's a really tough balance, to I think that there's, I just think there's a really big gap between doing something like the 4 minute mile where there's an exact number attached versus, the sky is the limits. I don't want to put a limit on my potential doing a long distance Ironman event, and training to that level, but I think from a mindset standpoint, it's like, I think we get trapped in that mindset enough. It's like, I'm doing plenty, so this is good enough. I think, or if you kind of want to reframe it, it's like, I know what I can do, and this is still going to be pretty good. And I think that that's attainable. Pretty good is attainable. Pretty good is something that's reasonable. Pretty good is a little bit above average versus that less than 1% that you're going for, or that really, really big carrot to where getting it would be just something extraordinary, and you're going to have to basically change the way that you train, the way that you see training, what's possible, what you never thought was possible, and to see if you can actually accomplish it. It's like you're basically clearing the decks and saying, this one end result is all that matters. And so now I have to work my way backwards to figure out how I'm going to get there.
Mm-hmm.
Which is what he did.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like, and he just systematically approached it. And it's different for every athlete, because you're not going to look at an athlete who's only been doing this for a year and say, all right, I want to break 9 hours in an Ironman as an amateur.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm going to work my way backwards. It's going to be a long ass journey.
Yeah.
And there are just so many other different variables in terms of racing and courses versus what can happen over 4 minutes versus what can happen over 9 hours with 3 different sports and other competitors and rain and wind and heat. Like, there's just so many other variables. But when it comes to the mindset, it's thinking, okay, it's that self-labeling that, you self-identify as I'm always going to be a slow runner. And then you wake up one day and you go out and you run and you come back and you like, oh shit, I didn't ever think I was going to run that fast. And there's this like uncomfortable door that's now been opened to where sometimes you kind of want to shut it and pretend like it never happened. And does that make sense at all?
Yeah.
Because you get so comfortable in thinking and labeling yourself as, well, because let's be honest, man, like it's really comfortable just to stay where you are. Like, I'm a middle, to front of the pack triathlete, I am included, myself, and then, but sort of like, oh, I could just kind of keep doing what I'm doing. And as long as I don't get hurt, I'm going to stay there. Mm-hmm. And that's okay. I'm not really risking anything. I'm not really overextending myself. I'm not getting these big goals in my head that I might not reach. I'm just I'm living in like my self-identified athletic bubble. I am this. I can stay this. This is comfortable. Why have expectations? Why believe? Like, I shouldn't believe that. And then so you kind of revert back to, oh, that just kind of, maybe my GPS was wrong, or maybe the data was wrong, because I'm not that fast. Mm-hmm. I'm like, you think it's just lying to you, but then you keep the door open and you think, okay, maybe I am capable of doing more. And then you kind of have that like uncomfortable uneasiness of, with that comes different expectations. With that comes a different mindset. With that becomes higher goals that you always thought were for other people or for someone else, but now they're yours. Oh, okay. Well, now they have a different tune. now they're telling a different story. And so I think that is a huge mindset with, let's say, with big risk comes big reward, mm-hmm. And it's like, are you willing to go that extra step and pay attention to those small details and change your mindset from, I am this, or this is all I will be, to I might actually be able to do this. So what the hell? Let's give it a shot, mm-hmm. and then go for it. And so, I think that's two very, very different places. And I think athletes find themselves in that place more often than we probably like to admit.
Now, do you find, where do you find yourself in that place right now? Because I feel like you're starting to believe something is more possible for you. Is that accurate? Or I think because of the work you're putting in, but
I think they both kind of run along the same line. Like you put in a lot of hard work and you believe you're capable of something, and then it's almost like the chicken before the egg sometimes. It's like, I believe I'm capable of more, so let me put in the hard work, and then I put in the hard work and I'm really consistent, and so I get better results. So it reaffirms that belief of, yes, I am, versus, because listen, triathlon and Ironman is like the king of all sports of claiming and writing and basically acting like you rode a horse in a race, and you just went and bought one. Mm-hmm. Triathletes in general, I'm just going to tell you, are the kings of riding I sign up for an Ironman horse all year long, and then basically half-assing the whole way there. and then making an excuse for why they didn't finish or not doing. And they will ride that train. They will ride that pick of their injury for as long as you'll let them, versus actually getting down and doing the work. Some of them, not all of them, but there are plenty that'll ride that the whole year, because signing up and spending the money is way more fun than actually doing the work. But I mean, where I find myself now is like, yeah, I mean, I think you have to think, okay, well, there's also you create expectations, and then you realize I don't really need to create expectations in terms of a result or a goal-based expectation. But if I just create an expectation of effort, that I'm going to work as hard as I can every week. I'm going to be as consistent as I need to be every week. I'm going to do all the little things right every week. Then you start to accomplish things and be as consistent with things that you were never able to accomplish. So you might open one door, but then behind that door, there's another one. And you know that the only way to get through that door is to continue doing what you're doing. It's like, it's not rocket science. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. But yeah, for me, I mean, am I where I'm in a good place, I guess is the best way I can say it. I'm in a really good place with seeing progress that I wanted to see. I can't sit here and say that it's exactly where I thought I would be, because I really didn't paint a picture of where I thought I would be. I just knew that if I committed to working really, really hard and trying to become, listen, if you want to reach and achieve great results or achieve great goals or achieve great things, you don't get those first. You have to create a mindset that's capable of doing the work to then get there.
Right.
It doesn't work backwards. Like you aren't just you don't get a goal and then get the mindset. You don't achieve your ultimate, result and then get the mindset. You get the mindset first, and then the rest follows. And you can't be lazy. You can't make excuses. You can't look for ways to not. You just have to do it. And there's just little things you have to do differently, and that's the difference. And yeah, I mean, so for me, am I in a good have I improved a lot? Yes. Is this the most consistent I've been ever? Probably. Sure. And I think I've the shape that I'm in now, I've earned it. And I'm looking forward to just keep doing what I'm doing. But I think it's the mindset comes first.
Yeah.
The results.
Well, the mindset is a huge. I mean, like, think about, we talked about like Michael Jordan before, and Michael Jordan most likely wasn't binging on Netflix. He was practicing basketball, and Steve Jobs wasn't screwing around all day. He was focused on changing the world. Mm-hmm. And their mindset delivered their action day after day. And for that, thankfully for them, or for us, like, we wouldn't be looking at things the same way if it weren't for the guys like and people like that do that.
Mm-hmm.
That, I mean, that's those are extreme situations, but I always think about that in terms of like, okay, what little things could I eliminate maybe and put and then exchange them for something else? Like, what little thing could I do today just to get a little bit better? And sometimes that takes a lot of focus just to get a little bit better, but that's the mindset that becomes the driver. And that's what you're talking about. I mean, like, we're triathletes, trying to get a little bit better.
We are triathloners, man.
We're triathloners, and we don't. But like, that's Jobs and Jordan, guys like that. That's obsessive, but that's obsessive focus, and they're just not going to fail. And those are the people that change the world. But we can change our world in little increments, and that's what it comes down to. It's like, man, if you don't feel like running, go for a long walk. Whatever the case may be. It's like, it's almost like a daily struggle to, it's such a harder picture to paint. Like what kind of difference can we make? As individuals, and what are our passions, and how do we get to those places? And I think that sometimes thinking about a guy like Steve Jobs or Jordan or whatever, that can kind of be intimidating and daunting. It's like, my God, we all want to be so amazing at the core, I think sometimes, but like the thought of actually, putting every ounce of energy you have into triathlon is a long shot, but I think you almost got to be a little bit forgiving on yourself, but just to take a step in the right direction every day, it goes a long ways. And I know that's sort of the basis of your coaching plan. It's just like, get something done, move the needle a little bit. It doesn't have to be something that's going to shift the way everyone in the world looks at you. It's like
that's all it's all about, though.
I know.
It's about how you see yourself.
Well, it's funny that we can look at Roger Bannister, and like the whole thing is like people saw him do it, and they're like, hey, why not me? But we can't look at ourselves and say, hey, why not me? You know what I mean? Like you can see those little gains, and like you're saying, sometimes I think one of the biggest things that I try to battle with is like allowing my limits to or be broken. Sometimes you're like, wait, I shouldn't be running this fast. What is going on here? What happens in your brain there that says, hey, you can't do this, even though you can. You just did it.
Well, and that's that is like one of the main reasons why people get a coach, or the biggest value that coaches can bring to an athlete is, listen, like we all see ourselves through a distorted lens. Mm-hmm. We all do. We see ourselves totally differently than probably other people see us, because we know everything that we've gone through. We know everything that we've done, things that you're proud of, things that you're not proud of, things that you think about in your mind that you've never spoken out loud. Like, listen, like we all know ourselves better than anybody else. So that's why we think about ourselves the way that we do. And we also have these preconceived notions of what we're capable of and what we're not capable of. Mm-hmm. But you add in a good friend, you add in a good coach, they separate your mind from your body. And they get you to see and believe and fight your way through showing yourself that you're capable of different things. I was thinking about this on my run yesterday, is that, our mind drives our body. And the more information you put through the computer that is your brain, the more inauthentic things become. So, and I'll go back to, I'm a huge fan of running on feel. In the last 2 or 3 weeks, I've been doing these negative split runs. I'm a huge fan of not only practicing, and performing the negative split and running, but finishing stronger. And I was in the past 2 ones have been okay, but then yesterday I was like, you know what? I'm not even gonna see if I am in fact. I'm not going to look, because what I've been doing is, let's say, like I've been running for like an hour and 20. At the 40, I wouldn't look at my watch at all until the 40-minute mark, which is halfway. And then after that, I give my chance to build to the finish. And then so what I've been doing the last 2 weeks is at the 40-minute mark, then looking at my watch, and let's say it read like 7:50. Okay, well now I have the next 40 minutes to build, and I'd look at it, every half mile. Is my pace faster? Is my pace faster? Looking at my watch to validate what I think I'm telling myself and what I think my body is feeling. Mm-hmm. But what I would find is that I was running, and then I would feel good, then I looked at my watch, and it might be a little bit quicker than what I thought. And so I'm adding in this information that immediately changes, because your mind in a lot of ways controls your body. And instead of just letting my body go with what I was feeling, I start to tell my body what I was thinking, which is 2 totally different things. And so yesterday, went out on my run, my legs were fatigued, and I was like, I don't even know how this is going to go, but I'm going to cover up my watch the whole time. and I'm gonna hit 40, and I'm gonna look down at my watch just to see what the pace is, and then I'm gonna cover it back up again, and I'm gonna run back. And it was a much better run. I felt better, I felt stronger, but it was that even though I wanted to look down at my watch, I wanted to feel my way to doing it. I didn't want to think my way to doing it, because when you think things and you start to filter it through, like I said, that computer that is your brain of I can't, too fast, too slow, too hard, too easy, instead of it just being what it is. And coaching is that in kind of a nutshell, is you think you can do this, but I know you can do this because I see it. And I can see it objectively because I'm seeing it through my eyes and through the information that I have versus through your eyes that not just see something, but also feel something because of how you see yourself. And that's just, and we get that way so much in every other part of our life, with our jobs, with our relationships. I only deserve this. I only deserve that, or I'm only ever gonna be this, or like we do that shit all the time. Like that was one of the biggest things I know for me personally. I had to overcome when I got sober, like over 4 years ago, was that so many people that suffer from addiction or whatever it is, like they can never forgive themselves, and all they see is like they label themselves. I'm only ever going to be this. That's all I'm ever going to be. Mm-hmm. Instead of reframing and being like, okay, I have this disease, but it's not who I am. So I am not all like, the worst things I've done in my life, and I still have a whole life to live. And so you have to think that I'm not this, but I can do whatever the hell I want to do. I can be great at anything. I just have to go do it. Instead of being trapped in like that paralyzing thought of restraint that is our lack of self-belief in ourselves that comes from our parents, not our moms because it's their birthday, but like, listen, like, a lot of the way you think comes from how you were raised or life circumstances or whatever. It's like, all these little things, they all add up. And at one point you got to say, listen, that's not who I am. I'm going to be different. I'm not a has-been. I'm not overweight. I'm not this. I don't, you're restrained only as far as your mind allows you to not escape what your potential is. And once you can think, you know what, you can, I don't have to be this. I don't have to be that. I can actually just be whatever the fuck I want to be and do whatever I want to do and achieve whatever I want to achieve. And once you start to actually think that way, then new doors open up, new relationships open up, new job opportunities. We had this discussion kind of yesterday when we had our little meeting. And when I started this business, it was because somebody told me something that I would never do X or this because I was just this.
Right.
And that was like a defining moment in my life where I was like, you know what? I'm not just this. And that was kind of like the swift kick in the nads that I needed. That was like, I've always kind of been like, yeah, I'm not that. But there's a huge difference in thinking you're not something and truly believing you're not just something.
Yeah.
For me, it was like, yeah, I'm not that. I can do this. I can do that. See, I'm doing this. And then finally that was a point like, you know what? And I think it was right time, right place for me, obviously. But it was like, I don't believe that. I believe something totally different. And it was a transformative day and conversation that I had that was like, yeah, things are about to change. Mm-hmm. And it's been literally the best thing that ever happened to me. And you look back and you think, oh, well, it's such, listen, I haven't done like all these incredible things in my life. I just haven't. I think a lot of people think I've accomplished a lot or this or that, or, when I go speak at treatment facilities and whatever about my experience and where I've gone, it's got nothing to do with my accomplishments or what the message I want to get across. It's your belief and your mindset of, I can literally do anything that I want to.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there's a huge difference in thinking, because we can pretend our way to think a lot of things. We can trick ourselves into thinking that this is a good day when really it's just crappy. But if we believe, we truly believe, had like an unshakable belief that we can do something, then I guarantee you that you will be happier on the way to trying to achieve whatever it is, or you will get much closer than just trying to think your way there.
It's very easy to talk yourself into being a fraud, I think. And like what you're saying was really interesting about, 'cause like how it permeates every part of your life, whether it's being a dad, a father, a boyfriend, a husband, girlfriend, whatever. But it also, like, it's so funny because I think all of us are in this too, to feel good and to look good and, just to be happier and all that sort of stuff. And like, when you're in a good mindset and you really believe that your body's coming together, you just sort of look at yourself and you're like, yeah, man, but if you have that mindset where you could be the same body one day, like it happens like one day to the next, sometimes you look at yourself and you're like, man, I can't lose any weight. I'm getting fat. I don't look good, whatever. But then, the next day it's like completely different. So that mindset is such a big deal. It's sort of like this concept of, you've heard the sayings, oh man, I can't live with myself. And I think there was like an Eckhart Tolle thing or something, but it's like you got to ask yourself, it's like, wait, who's I and who's myself? It's like you already are who you are, and that's good enough. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing I think we have to come to terms with, is that whole living as a fraud and kind of like being somebody you're not and acting. That's what gets us into the trouble. You try to create a different persona around who, and it's always fake, and it feels like it's leading you down the wrong road, and you're trying to cover your tracks and the whole 9 yards and things like that. But it's sort of how do you get into this, like, everything's good as it is, and I accept that, and I believe in that. And when how that translates to my racing and whatever is like, it's about flow, and it's about the difference between talking yourself out of something and just letting something happen. Like I do video work and you have doubts all the time. I'm like, man, I'm not good. But then you get people, like you're saying, objectively looking at it and saying, man, you're good at what you do. And I have doubts about everything I do, whether it's writing or videography or editing and things like that. But you're so close to yourself, and all these doubts, and you let the doubts sort of take over, and that sort of defines you. But I don't know. I don't even know where I'm going with this, but it's sort of. But you know what I'm saying, though, right?
No, yeah, I do. I mean, it is.
It's like the old guy. It's like you see. I mean, you'll relate to this. You see when you used to go out and hit the bars all the time. It's like when you see that person that's like the life of the party, and everything's awesome, and they're the couple's out together and they're having a great time, and they're like, man, why can't I just be like? They seem so happy together, and then 6 months later they're getting divorced because you don't see what happens outside of that 2 hours of phoniness, basically. It's like not living from an authentic place, and I think that's where I get into trouble, where we all maybe get into trouble, is not accepting our true selves, and always trying to kind of be someone else, and not trusting that what we have is good enough.
Yeah, I mean,
it already is perfect.
Yeah, I actually mentioned that to my therapist last week. We were talking about people in long-term recovery and society and people in general. And I said, listen, man, one of the biggest things I've learned in that is like, pretty much is, I would rather be just incredibly happy every single day of my life than feeling the need to be excited.
Yeah, excitement.
Which is so much of what I think people in general look for, and we look for in training, with epic workouts, or these or shoving races in. It's just like I don't, you may think I don't have much excitement in my life because I do pretty much the same thing every damn day, but I have an incredibly happy life, and I wouldn't trade that for, yeah, but I got to go do this like really extravagant thing this week to get some excitement in.
Mm-hmm.
Nope. Like, that's just not it. But it's anyway, we kind of got off topic a little bit, but no, I think that, belief in oneself and telling the story, one of the biggest things, like I said, a coach can give to an athlete is that we can both pick up the same book, and you can read it and translate it a totally different way than I can. And it might even have the same words, same pictures, same everything, but because you're filtering it through your own reality, you see it and translate it as a different way, versus a coach sees it and the way that, I don't want to say the way that it should be, but oftentimes a coach will see you through the lens in which you should hopefully see yourself. And not just in triathlon, but in life in general. What are you capable of, and what are you, because a coach believes in their athlete, undoubtedly. They transcend that thinking and belief and imposing that on their athlete to believe in themselves differently, or to help them flirt with that line of, it's one of my favorite things to hear as a coach. I never thought I would be able to blank.
Mm.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's a reality, and now guess what? We're going to do even more things. And it's like that nervous anxiety feeling of, oh crap, oh shit. Well, now I'm in uncharted territory. But now, like, you just quit thinking, you just do it. And it's exciting for athletes. But yeah, it all comes down to, don't be a thinker, be a believer. And don't think I'm just going to be a back of the packer, or I'm okay. I just have a hard time getting behind the fact, and I'm sure I'll get flack for this, and that's fine. We're gonna say, but I'm okay with being a 15 to 17 hour Ironman finisher, because that's all I'll ever be. I have a really hard time believing that person sees that, because don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with that.
Mm-hmm.
But concreting yourself into a place and into a progression of what you're trying to accomplish, and listen, we talk and we think ourselves into reality all the time.
Yeah.
If you want to believe you're something different, and you want to believe you can accomplish more, and you can want to believe you're worthy of a better relationship, if you want to truly believe you're worthy of a better performance, you want to truly believe that you can do this or do X, Y, and Z, I guarantee you everything will change. Like, I guess in closing, like one of the videos I shared in our closed athlete Facebook page, it was a motivational video, and one thing he said was, what if you were in a coma and you woke up and you had no idea who you were, and somebody told you that you were a Navy SEAL? How would your mindset be different in how you went about your day if you woke up and someone told you were a piano teacher? You would act and believe totally different.
Yeah.
Just because of what you believed. Imagine just waking up tomorrow morning and your memory has been wiped clean. And you go to bed tonight, and you're listening to this podcast, and you go to bed tonight, and you write down on a sheet of paper, I believe I am, or I believe I can do this. And you wake up tomorrow morning, and the first thing you read is that sheet of paper, and that's who you become.
Mm. Yeah.
Do that. See if it changes how you think. See if it changes how you see yourself. what and how you believe in yourself, and go get it.
Yep. And rewiring is consistency. So keep doing that.
Absolutely.
I was going to say, what's worse, somebody not thinking they can go below 15 hours, or me thinking I can go below 10 and not being consistent in my approach. It's sort of
yeah. I mean, like, listen, there's zero things wrong. The result is not what I'm harping on in being a 15 to 17 hour Ironman finisher. There's absolutely zero wrong with that.
Mm-hmm.
My point is telling yourself that you're always going to be, versus striving for trying to be more, or believing that you're not. And like I said, nothing wrong with that. I think it's just a mindset of belief and clearing and going over obstacles than just allowing them to sit, without going to battle with them. So,
all right, man.
Hey, if you like what you hear, again, please hit us up. Leave us a review on iTunes. If you have any questions, comments, or anything for either Mike and I, you can hit Mike at crushingiron@gmail.com. You can always reach out to me about all things coaching, training plans, camps, whatever, at c26coach@gmail.com. And, hey, we'll check you Thursday.
Thursday it is. Thanks for listening to the Crushing Iron podcast.
See you, man.
See you, bud.